Guess I need to get my coffee. Some coffee. All right, I am live. Let's see. Send out some invites. Oh, I forgot to do one thing. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, give me 1 second. We're live, but I'm really not ready. Hold on, y'all. Okay. Yeah, give me 1 second. We're live, but I'm really not ready. Hold on, y'all. All right, y'all. What's up? I haven't been live in a while. So we're going to give it a few minutes for some people to come on in here, share the live. So we're going to give it a few minutes for some people to come on in here, share the live. Let me fix that.
Kingdom gon' be the nation again, Lord. Elements shaking, the rumors breaking, cause we exposing. Got no more patience, your time is wasting, we quickly growing. Unite to save when we walk in the path is forward. The kingdom's risen, begin the end of a lot is trending.
In a world where many voices go unheard, the Nagus Kingdom emerges as a revolutionary movement, a government rooted in righteousness, created by the people, for the people. It is a bold vision of liberty, freedom, and justice, where every individual has the right to pursue happiness and safety. This is more than just a dream. It is a call to action for those who believe in the power of unity and change. The United Kingdoms of Nagus represents the future, a new beginning where equality and opportunity takes center stage. But building this vision requires a strong foundation. To establish the legal and administrative framework necessary for this movement, we need your help. Your support will empower and dedicate team working to make this vision a reality, laying the groundwork for a government that serves and uplifts all its people. When you contribute to this campaign, you're not just donating funds, you're making history. Together, we can create a kingdom built on principles of love, unity, and hope, a legacy that will inspire generations to come. Join the movement. Be a part of the change. Be a part of the groundbreaking process of building the United Kingdoms of News for a future that truly belongs to us. Peace, peace. Welcome to the live, y'all. Y'all see what the title is. What's up? Y'all are more than welcome to come up. I'm going to play some music, give some people a chance to get in here before I go over this document. I'm here for a good time, not a long time, okay?
They been asking me where I been at. Just relax, nigga, I'm back. No need for the cardiac. Arrest was needed before I made the attack. More combos than Tekken. Leroy Smith with a gold swinging necklace. Raven Simone couldn't predict this, cause it was set by a higher power. This predicament came from sacrificing those hours just to get hours.
I haven't been live
Stingy with the flower when they see you trying to rise. I know it's bittersweet, but you might get it when you die. Nickname Franklin, how I built this enterprise. Just to get the enterprise. Take heed to this if you wise. Get your money up, but don't let it be your demise.
We're gonna get this recorded anyway. I was just gonna record it, but I said, what the hell? I'm gonna just go live.
Ruel, stop playing.
Man, I don't know if you've seen this this document or not, but very interesting because it's revealing some things about Black history that we don't normally hear when it comes to the Cold War in Africa. And David and Goliath. That's the title they decided to use.
Just to talk that shit, I've been waiting. Just to flaunt that whip, I've been waiting. Just to toss that bitch to my partner, Chris.
And I got the document over here. I'm gonna read it.
Yeah.
We're gonna see what it's talking about, y'all.
Yeah. I've been waiting.
Because I haven't been live in a few weeks, I'm not really expecting a lot of guests. But who knows? I'm gonna put it on YouTube anyway. I was gonna record this for the YouTube. Like a Jackson in a jacket, put my zipper. If I tip her, I flip her like a mattress. Rubber undercover for a package off a dragon. Woo. On the real, I got goals, not the grill. I got soul, not the shoe. Let me roll, not a pill. Don't feel on the ill, cause it way too hard to come by. It's just me, myself, and I. Wait. Just to talk that shit, I've been waiting. Just to flaunt that whip, I've been waiting. Just to toss that bitch to my partner, Chris Paul, that shit. I've been waiting. Peace. Yeah. Yeah. I've been waiting. Run it back. We can't keep acting like everything's normal. We can't keep just ignoring what's going on, y'all, in the world, not just the United States of America, in the world. We cannot act like everything's normal because everything is not normal. Nothing is normal under circumstances. Look all around at the people, tell me, what do you see? Ain't normal.
Look all around at the people, tell me, what do you see? They turn around and say nothing cause they already sleep. Poison at the push of a button, don't even get up to eat. Try to stand up to say something you shouldn't wanna speak. No, you should never say. Don't practice nothing that you preaching and tell them else to pray. Under your voice I hear screeching, he lying every day. One leg got to focus, his beat, but no God, it's time to pay. Oh God.
Oh God.
When it's like the wind, I got it by the pen. Cause it divided us and knocked us up against the 10. Everybody can win if you accept the truth. Empty your cup for the supper, some pounds you gotta lose. Now let your body move, shake it and stomp your feet. You hear that boom when it's bumping and jumping out the beat. He gon' be up cause he dumping nothing out in the street. Set the boy to cellular mothers cause you can't take the heat. You need to take a seat, like really, go sit down. Cut off the head of a chicken, left it and lost the foul. Like he can't tell something missing, he living in the ground. Plug him out the
family, if y'all wanna come up, y'all know y'all more than welcome to come up. Probably gonna do like maybe 2 or 3 hours live. I'm gonna do her long.
And yeah, we got the hardest walk of the generation. Look at the faces, they waiting patient to see the changes. But the upper be hating. He use the congregation to beat the places that's going to segregate.
Probably accidentally touched that button.
Circle and cross them out. Look at the angels we slaying them with the word of mouth. Like get up on the couch, come outside the house. We say the day for the nation to make the evil drown. Look all around at the people, tell me, what do you see? They turn around and say nothing cause they already sleep. Poison at the push of a button, don't even get up to eat. Try to stand up to say something you shouldn't even wanna speak. No, you should never say. Don't practice nothing that you preaching and telling us to pray. Under your voice I hear screeching, he lying every day. One look at your phone cause it's beef, but no God, it's time to pay. Oh God. When I say God Jew, you say Judah. God Jew, God Jew. When I say God Jew, you say Judah. God Jew, God Jew. It could flick a soda cracker, it could flick a boom. It could flick a soda cracker, out goes you.
Welcome to the live.
So many get the call, but the chosen are few. I heard the final call and made the cut like got knocking at the door, folks. What you gon' do? Steady long, steady wrong. You see us, then we gone. The song sound familiar, but the lyrics brand new. Fam, hit me out. The religion on who? That's why I roll with niggas original Hebrew. We deep like the womb. Still waters grew. Empty out your cup and get this ill potted stew. Bowl of beef. That's on chief. Now carry your cross, dog, that's good grief. Pastor in the pulpit, lying through his teeth. When the rubber meet the road is when the wheels go screech. Don't let the moment drive by. The proof is in the pudding, got you looking sky high. An outcast left behind like bro now. You heard it here first, we going in.
Oh yeah.
What do you see? They turn around and say nothing cause they already sleep. Poison at the push of a button, don't even get up to eat. Tired of standing up to say something you shouldn't want to speak. No, you should never say. Don't practice nothing that you preaching and telling us to pray. Under your voice I hear screeching, he lying every day. One look at your phone cause it's beat below God, it's time to pay. Oh, God.
What's up, brothers and sisters? Peace and blessings, grand rising to all those far and beyond. As you see, I'm standing in front of a flag. You might be saying, what flag is this? Well, this is the Negus Kingdom flag, y'all. This is the new kingdom up on the rise in the name of God, fulfilling God's prophecy. This flag was also beautifully designed by my brother, Abe. Put a beautiful design together, brother, man. Well skillful artist, man. And, so we're gonna get into the symbolism of it, y'all. We're gonna get into the symbolism of it because a lot of people ask us, what does the star mean? What does the cross and the star mean? Well, it's simple. That's the sacrifice, sacrificial lamb. You got what? The other stars, which are the noble men and women. The wise men that surround themselves around the sacrificial lamb, because that's the Bible tell you who you supposed to eat from, the sacrificial lamb. Now, you eat from the sacrificial lamb to get the life. It also symbolizes restoration because we shine what? Light in darkness. So you see, we got the stars are always in black. The sacrifice is done in black. But you have the light surrounding it, which symbolize also light shines in darkness.
Thank you.
You see the colors. You see the red with blood. You see the green, of course, with the land. The fertile land that Mother Africa provides. As we don't really know in America as African Americans, but the whole world knows Africa is a very, very fertile piece of land. It provides most of the resources, that the world has. I can't say all, but I know majority of the resources, come from it. So as you say, the stars are also aligned, in a cross. It also represents the four corners of the earth, where all of us are coming from. We're coming
designed by brother
of the earth, but we come into
Babe,
sacrificial
brother
land.
AI.
And again, which is a star.
Designed the flag.
And I think that's Revelation 22 and 16.
I don't know if y'all can order the flag or not
the offspring
on the
the
website,
morning star,
but you can order the
bright
cap,
star.
and it has the star on the
So
front.
this is not to be worshipped. This is just symbolism to show us how
On
God
YGJudah.com.
to bring restoration to Israel and healing to the nations. So this flag represents God's prophecy
I'm trying to
and
see
how
if I
it's
can print the
fulfilled.
document out, y'all, so I can read it.
And like I said, a lot of people get caught up with the biblical stories and they get blinded to God prophecy. God prophecy is what's going to connect you to God. The stories is going to bring you understanding to the prophecy, but the stories don't connect you to God. So a lot of times, well, all the time, we have been taught stories and not prophecies. So again, this is a flag that's also going to represent God prophecy when it's all seen by the world as this new song is being spread. Y'all, like I said, there's no hidden agenda with this flag. It's simply, it is what it is. You see the stars, you see the light, you see the sacrifice. That's what it represents, y'all. Blood, sweat, and tears. That's going to bring light to the world and restoration to our people. So thank y'all for watching. Peace and blessings. As always, I hope the Father has circumcised y'all hearts and ears for the message. Peace.
Creativity is not something I wait for. I am Antoni Sendra, a filmmaker. I'm always hunting.
I lay down. Tell these niggas find safer ground to play on. I don't bang, but I am the nigga that'll swing on you. Like these fakes when they change and switch lanes on you. So my heart grew numb, cocaine on tongue. Drop napalm like a veteran in Vietnam. Usain on these tracks, nigga, I been on the run. Got hooks like Tyson, that pack a hell of a punch. One take and I'm done. Bitch, I'm one of them ones, chosen like LeBron. I'm the brains and the bronze. I came, saw, and I conquered it. It can go down anywhere for you young jockers. And Octagon couldn't stop us from dodging potholes and stacking potlucks. Rub it in the face of those that doubted us. When they counted us out, they should have been counting on us.
They should have been counting on us, man.
Get with it,
They counted us out, y'all. They should have been counting on us.
Get with it or lay down.
Roll with us or get rolled over.
Get with it or lay down.
Ain't nobody bringing this information to y'all but us.
Get with it or lay down. Roll with us or get rolled over. I'm feeling like beans. I can feel it in the air.
They gon' try to
hot teams.
They gon' try to hot teams, y'all. They gon' try to hot teams in a minute.
I'm going out the same way I came, but before I go, I'm trying to show a whole different angle. Like trick shots on the pool table. This shit better than cable, too abstract to label. Hot like a potato, but hard to pass. The bars is gas, they bars is brass. My bars is gold, a lot of niggas good copies, but one the mold. Like Mindy Straws, they fold, I'm standing like a light pole. Got my high beams on, church was the first place they told me to let it shine. No straddling the fence, I'm making them pick a side. I need to know who gon' ride for me.
Get with it or lay down. Roll with us or get rolled over.
Get with it or lay down. Roll with us or get rolled over. Get with it or lay down. Roll with us or get rolled over. Get with it or lay down. Roll with us or get rolled over. Get rolled over.
All right, y'all. So now, I was trying to print this document out so it'd be easy for me to read, but I'm gonna just read it from here, from my laptop, cause hold on one second. Yeah. Now, most of us learn about African history during the Cold War, but you know, you hear about the internal problems, the economic crisis, the coups, the revolutions, but we don't normally hear about how deep inside powers were involved behind the scenes. Like, this document is going to reveal some of that information, like how certain powers played certain roles in the Cold War. We have came across a lot of CIA documents that have been revealed. This one was approved for release 2024. It looks like October 28th of 2024. And I want to make something clear about the document itself. It's a CIA document that was, well, it was released by the CIA, but it's not a CIA confession, so to speak. It's not really an official memo. It's an outside political analysis that ended up in the CIA records, but it's interesting because it describes a story or a side of their story, his story, that rarely gets talked about. And since it's Black History Month, in honor of Black History Month, we're going to talk about some shit that they don't like to talk about. I know y'all see the star, right? Yeah. We're going to do what we do. Bring out the truth like we always do. So the author is very blunt in this article. They're openly criticizing, well, I ain't gonna say criticizing, they're openly critical of U.S. and Israeli involvement in Africa. Yeah. Here we are again with the U.S. and Israeli involvement in Africa, and we're gonna shine some light on this aid that they like to say they aid in helping people. That's another form of deception. They cause a problem and then they come to your aid with a solution that really solves their problems. So in the article, their argument is simple. It's called an aid program, and it's saying that it wasn't very humanitarian like they claimed it was. They were tools of political influence, tools of control, and what the author calls neo-colonism. So I'm going to share this little part that caught my attention. It really made me want to even talk about the document. Let me see if I can put it up on the screen for y'all. Can y'all hear me okay? Let's see. I'm only good with this. Let me see if I can change this real quick. Effects. There it is. Let me find it. All right. Now, y'all, this is what caught my eye. So here's a little section of the document. Oh, I got it printed out too. I'm going to read most of it. It's only 6 pages, so I got time today. I didn't plan on going live for too long anyway, but I got time today. So, y'all can read it too. For over 10 years, Israel has played a relatively invisible but strategically important role in Africa. Why are they even playing a role in Africa anyway? At all? Why? Okay, so it says, for over 10 years, Israel has played a relatively invisible but strategically important role in Africa as a servant. Y'all see that, right? As a servant of the United States organized free world empire. Just as the Central Intelligence Agency needs liberal and social democratic organizations as agents for its own counter-revolutionary activities, so certain departments of the U.S. government have sought to develop a third country, Israel. They developed a third country technique for carrying on the work of imperialism. So, the third country technique in Israel carried out a selective and highly strategic series of assistance programs in sub-Saharan Africa. I'm going to read a little bit more, then let's see. Although not without, it's kind of hard to read, but it says, although not without her own independent objectives in the third world, Israel has allowed herself to become a willing accomplice of neo-colonialism and counter-revolution in Africa. So, what is a third country technique? According to the document, U.S. strategies realized something. If America intervened directly, it looked like imperialism. But if another country did the same work, it looked more neutral. The aid wouldn't be questioned. That country was Israel. Israel looked less colonial than Britain or France. And I got my Paris, France shirt on for the occasion, y'all. So they used another country to do their dirty work. Are y'all surprised? I'm not surprised. So somewhat socialist and more acceptable to newly independent African nations. So aid could be routed through Israel. Same influence, less backlash. And the author says this wasn't random charity, it was Cold War strategy. Block communism, keep Western influence, shape the political direction of new nations. So it was like just without looking like direct U.S. control. So I want to read this whole document, but I'm going to see if I can clean it up because I'm having a hard time seeing the words printed. So the document then describes how this actually worked in practice. It says there were 3 main forms. First, Israeli experts were placed directly inside African governments, often in strategically important positions. And second, thousands of Africans were brought to Israel for training. Y'all remember we talked about the Operation Moses? And this title of this document is David and Goliath collaborate in Africa. They obsessed with these Bible stories, y'all. They are obsessed with the Bible stories. So, where was I at? So they had students, civil servants, labor leaders, and military officers. And third, Israeli businesses and government created joint economic projects with African states. So on the surface, it looks like development, but underneath, it's also soft power. So it shapes elites, builds relationships, and influences institutions. And then there's the hard side. The document argues that a major focus was security and military training, police forces, counterinsurgency programs, intelligence coordination, and in other words, helping friendly governments stay in power. That's crazy. Let's see. The effect of these programs has not only been to strengthen Israel's own long-range political and economic goals, but also to further U.S. imperialism's objective of tying post-independence Africa to the West and undermining revolutionary movements which threaten Western, I don't know what that is. The word is kind of marked out. It looks like homage. I don't know. In overall terms, Israeli aid to Africa is strategically insignificant, and its importance makes up only about 5% of the total amount of external aid received in sub-Saharan Africa. At the same time, the character of these programs and their strategic impact demand attention. Detailed information about Israeli programs is available only in little known but highly revealing reports prepared by government experts. The most complete survey and analysis was prepared by a staff member of the U.S. Agency for International Development. So, the U.S. Agency for International Development, which is AID. A second unpublished study is by a researcher for the Department of Defense. Among the published studies, the most significant is The Developing Nations, New Approaches to Cooperation, written by Lepard Lafar, a State Department official and former policy advisor to the Voice of America. The evidence shows that 1, the U.S. government has helped shape the style and substance of Israeli assistance programs in Africa. The U.S. government and its allies have helped finance these programs by means of the semi-covert third country technique. And 3, Israeli assistance has been concentrated in strategically, they marked that out. So I guess that was too much to expose. It says strategically important training with direct counterinsurgery applications. They marked out some of these. I wonder what that said. Ooh. So Israelis penetration of Africa began in 1957 when her national interests prompted her to seek political allies in the Third World. The affairs of 1956 had identified Israel too closely with the interests of Great Britain and France. It had reinforced Arab efforts to bend Israel as a tool of imperialism and help provide too much hard evidence for political comfort. Moreover, the growing strength of Muslim nations and the emerging Afro-Asian. Y'all, I be learning a lot of new stuff reading these CIA documents. The Afro-Asian solitary movement born at the Bangkok Conference in 1956, or Bandung Conference in 1956, threatened to isolate Israel politically. So, the African Research Group is a movement research, and all of that is blocked out. It's like a whole freaking paragraph. I can't read it. So I wanted to read all of this. It's only 6 pages. It's kind of short, but it's really, really hard to read. It looks like they scanned it or something. It's really hard to read. I should have cleaned it up before the live, but hey, here we go. We're live. And it is what it is. So the author claims this assistance shows up in places like Ethiopia, the Congo, Ghana, and Chad. And sometimes the U.S. preferred Israel as the middleman, specifically because direct American involvement had become politically toxic. Because they toxic. That's why. They are toxic. So Israel could do the same work, just more quietly. You know, it wouldn't look like the U.S. and France and all of them had their hands in it. Are we going to continue to act like everything is normal? Because everything is not normal. None of this is normal. Peace, peace. None of this is normal. At the same time, okay, I lost my place. One example mentioned Ethiopia. At the same time, Ethiopia was ruled by Emperor Haile Selassie and the century-old Solomonic dynasty. According to this document, Israeli advisors provided military and security training there as well. Now, this doesn't mean foreign powers caused the dynasty's fall, but we know, excuse me, y'all, we know foreign powers caused the dynasty's fall. We ain't got to just say it, but we going to say it. But it does show something very important. Ethiopia wasn't isolated. It was connected to Cold War alliances, foreign aid networks, and outside military partnerships. Those relationships absolutely shaped the political environment of the time. And its effect is still very visible. Are we going to still act like everything's normal? After all of these things that we continue to reveal to y'all, are we going to keep acting like everything is normal? Or does it take the Epstein files to come out for us to act like everything is not normal? Because all of this was released approved for release in 2024. This is 2026, and the Epstein's files are just coming out. We have 100 reasons to stop acting like this is normal. We got 1,000 reasons before the Epstein files came out. We had 1,000 reasons. We gonna stand up and actually do something about it though. Go to the website. Somebody pin the website down there. Go to the website, y'all, because if we don't bring them to justice, I don't think they'll ever be brought to justice, if that's the right way to put it. I don't know why everybody's so scared to get on live and get on these platforms, and the same platforms that we use to teach the Bible. Why are y'all afraid to get on live and say things about overthrowing this government that needs to be overthrown? Clearly, the Epstein files is full of government officials' names. It was a video that I seen and it was a guy in the airport, and he was screaming at everybody like, y'all just gonna catch flights and go on about y'all day and shop and celebrate the holidays and act like everything is normal. So, the takeaway isn't here's a secret plot. It's something simple. Aid isn't always just aid. Development isn't always neutral. And during the Cold War, almost everything had a geopolitical angle. The author's bottom line claim is this kind of assistance often creates dependency, not independence, and that's on purpose. Their aid does not create independence. And here in the United States, the aid that our government provides, it doesn't create independence. It's like you become codependent. And they've made it that way on purpose. And then here in 2025, 26, they're trying to snatch it away from you because they know you've become dependent on it. They don't teach you how to survive on your own in school. They don't teach you how to create wealth so that you don't have to be dependent on their aid. They teach you to become dependent on the aid so they can snatch it away. You running over each other in the grocery stores. They taught you to become dependent on the grocery stores. They taught you to become dependent on their toilet tissue. So when they create a problem, and snatch their aid away, now what you gonna do? Now what y'all gonna do? That's the picture. That's the picture we looking at. But this is just on a larger scale. It's cold in here. Let me get my heater, y'all. I'm cold. Now, so what looks like help almost always functions as control when it comes to these entities, empire. And remember, well, I don't know if y'all remember, but on one of my previous lives, I discussed about what empire actually means when it comes to world powers. When they say empire, they're not talking about everybody's empire. They're not talking about Africa. They're only talking about them. Because they don't look at African leadership as empire. So when we talk about African history, Black history, Ethiopian history, it's not just internal events. And it damn sure ain't about 1 month. But in honor of Black History Month, we gonna reveal some truth. I got my Paris, France on in honor of the occasion. So there were always outside forces in the background. The document is just one piece that helps us see the bigger picture. It's not proof, it's not propaganda, it's just context that usually gets left out. And context matters, y'all. It all matters. So let's see what it says there's one little part under here titled Building Nations or Nation Building. It says Israeli efforts seek to assist neo-colonist states in mobilizing their populations for development. In the area of youth mobilization, Israel has developed the Gadna Youth Battalion. So they're using kids. And I ain't talking about goats. Which have been used as models for similar programs in African states. This is sad. Nahal is for young men and women of military age, includes regular military training, followed by agricultural settlement in difficult or dangerous places. By 1966, Israeli experts had organized this type of nation-building program in 13 African countries. Man, what? Cameroon, the Central African Republica, Chad, Dahomey, and I know I'm probably pronouncing some of these wrong, Ivory Coast, Liberia, Malawi, Nigeria, Senegal, Tanzania, Togo, Uganda, Zimbabwe, Zambia. Other Israeli advisors carried on similar activities in Bolivia, Costa Rica, this is disgusting. In these countries, all with primary agricultural economics, Israeli experts often seek to impose Israel's socialist mashal as an alternative to more radical collective forms of organization. According to Peter Wosley, African independent peasants working on their own patches within the context of a traditional community culture find the Israeli mashav a more relevant model than more strictly collective forms of organization such as the Soviet of the Cuban state forms. So it's better, it's kind of like they saying we got picking the worst out of the worst. They don't really have good choices, so they just gonna pick the best out of the worst, out of all of the worst. That's what that sounded like to me. Training programs conducted in Israel have served to enhance Israel's political reputation on the continent while performing an important ideological and training function for imperialism. Most such programs are brief in duration and highly concentrated in nature. More than 9,000 trainees from the Third World have been exposed to Israelis' seminars, conferences, and training courses, but only a few hundred students have spent more than a year in the country. Most of these courses are middle-level personal, and they concentrate according to Laffer or transmitting new ideas and attitudes. What? The Israelis have learned, he reports, that trainees brought to Israel for short periods of highly intensive controlled exposure usually carry away with them a more favorable image than those who stay for longer periods. Since the exposure to Israel is selective, the trainees encounter the most attractive aspect of Israeli life in society. So it's all just smoke and mirrors, basically. You stay, the longer you stay, the more you see, and you wake up and say, oh, this is some bull. Specialized training in Israeli is provided on several levels. Government ministries, they offer courses for that. You can learn to become a minister. Not God ordained minister. You can just learn to become a minister. As do COSA government agencies such as Israeli Labor Complex. Histrati, a normally socialist union, sponsors its own Afro-Asian Institute for Labor Studies and Cooperation, headed by Alu Alath, Israel's first ambassador to the United States of America. The United States of America. Wow. They got their hands in everything. It turns out 30 to 50 trained leaders every 3 or 4 months. Significantly, this institute was launched with a $60,000 grant from the AFL-CIO and its affiliate national and international unions such as the British, there they go in it, TUC. Disclosures by the prominent journalists in the United States have since revealed that the international programs of the AFL are virtually integrated into coexistence with the CIA's international labor strategy. African trade unions are highly political instruments, and the training which takes place in Israel seeks to... Okay, this one is kind of missing some letters. So I got to piece the words together. Diplomatize them by pushing a cooperative orientation rather than one based of the class interest of workers. This emphasizes, according to Harvard-trained labor experts Arnold Zak, is on cooperation with other segments of society. Another professionally run Israeli institute, the Central for Cooperative and Labor Studies in Tel Aviv, which caters to Latin American trade, is supported by the Foreign Ministry of Hadassah. I don't know what that is. Occasionally, the center runs 3-week seminars for South American trade, sponsored by American Institute for Free Labor Development. Y'all. What? Okay. The AIFLD, which is the American Institute for Free Labor Development, although nominally based upon a partnership between labor, business, and government, receives about 95% of its annual $6 million budget from the U.S. Treasury. Yeah, the ones that's hunting us down for every little penny. They giving them a $6 million budget. Openly funded by aid and covertly by the CIA, it played a direct, important, and widely publicized role in overthrowing the government of Chadi Jagan in British Ghana. In the economic realm, Israelis' motivation for developing ties with Africa may be entirely independent, and in the long run, her rapidly developing trade relationships may represent a threat to Western economic hegemony. Whatever that means. We look up that word. Let me see what that means. I need to know what that means, because I've seen it twice now. Hold on, y'all. I lost my place. Oh, there it is. Okay, it just means leadership or dominance. Why they just don't use words that just make sense? Leadership or dominance, especially by one country or social group over another. For the moment, however, her economic activity seems to assist in propping up neo-colonial regimes and in imposing a model of development that is at odds with the basic needs of most of the African people. I gotta put this puzzle together. They're gonna be in the live. Y'all are more than welcome to come up. I'm just reading the document, but I would like to have conversation. If y'all want to have conversation, family, y'all know y'all can come up. Let's see. Trade between Israel and African nations is undergoing a significant growth in volume. The volume of Israeli exports to Africa stood at 11.6 million in 1963. By 1965, it was 21.5 million. However, it is probably more than a coincidence that the greatest increase have been in exports to those African countries. For example, Ethiopia, Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria, and Uganda, that also have an active technical cooperation program with Israel. African imports of such Israeli commodities as furniture, cement, and distilled soya oil, although small in absolute figures, amount to over 50% of total. Why did they name this David and Goliath? Y'all, that's like, that's something. So Africa also purchases a significant percentage of the total exports. Oh, I already read that. I'm sorry. As a source of raw material, Africa is also crucial. The scale of Israeli imports from Africa is even more significant than exports, and it is growing rapidly. With regard to direct economic investment in Africa, the most common method of Israeli penetration has been to set up cooperation based on partnerships between Israeli and African public capital. By mid-1963, 42 such companies had been established, according to the Economics of August 24th, 1963. Instead of demanding control or concessions for long periods, the Israelis' almost variable posture as a condition of their participation that their shareholding must be minority. Contracts are limited to 5 years, at the end of which the local majority stockholders are given the option of buying the Israeli interests out. And I'm almost certain they never really actually get to buy them out, because they still got interest over there. So what we really talking about? The seeming generosity of this Israeli policy is in fact based upon shred economic reasoning. Joint ventures have enabled Israeli companies to enter new markets with relatively small capital investments and under the benevolent protection of the government of developing countries. Since in many of these countries, domestic markets are closely guarded by long-established foreign or export firms, the Israeli firms might have found it difficult to establish themselves without that participation. So they just a puppet, really. I mean, we read that in the first page. All this other stuff is just, like just little details of how they are just a puppet. David and Goliath. David and Goliath. Okay, here's a portion of the document that's titled Selective Assistance. Let's see what it says. Israel does not disclose the full extent of its aid program to Africa or indicate who pays the bill. We know who paid the bill. The United States. Y'all already said that. They pay the bill. The U.S. Treasury through grants. Just like they did recently with all them billions of dollars they sent over there. In 1956 through 67, Israeli Department of International Cooperation reported a budget of 10 million, or does it say billion, Israeli pounds. Okay, I don't know what it says. The first couple of letters are marked out. 2.91 million US dollars. This figure, however, is very misleading. I'm not surprised. In part because Israeli costs are much lower than those of comparable U.S. projects. According to Laffer, more than half of Israel's total program is financed by non-Israeli sources. The U.S. government through their third country technique. I wish I had that video on my phone that Sis K. Monty shared, where Bush was talking about if they didn't create Israel, they would have to for their interests. Let me see if I can find it so y'all can hear it for yourself. Let me see. Let's see if I can find it on her page. I don't know if it's on the shorts. I think
understand why Joe Biden said this?
Were there not an Israel, the United States of America would have to invent an Israel to protect her interest in the region. The United States would have to go out and invent an Israel.
I've often said, Mr. President, if there were not an Israel, we'd have to invent one. I've long said, if Israel didn't exist, we'd have to invent it.
Joe Biden already knows that they created a false Israel. And they will have to keep creating more Israels because they already started off with the lie. Remember, America is not, as you can see, do y'all understand why Joe Biden said this?
I accidentally
Were there not an Israel, the United States of America would have to
But one more
invent
time
an
for
Israel to protect her interest in the region. The United States would have to go out and invent an Israel.
I've often said, Mr. President, if there were not an Israel, we'd have to invent one. I've long said, if Israel didn't exist, we'd have to invent it.
Joe Biden already knows that they created a false Israel. And they will have to keep creating more Israels because they already started off with the lie. Remember, America is not controlling Israel, and Israel is not controlling America. The British Empire is the root of the agenda, because all European nations pay respect to the royal family that's in England. The British Empire stole God's prophecy and created a false history so they can have authority over the world. This is why they have to keep your eyes on their fake Israel, because their lies are being unraveled. And this is why the whole world is under deception, because all Israel is not Israel, as is mentioned in Romans 9 and 6. Not as though the word of God have taken non-effect, for they are not all Israel, which are of Israel. Why are people still praising their Jerusalem when Christ is going to bring a new Jerusalem? As is mentioned in Revelations 21 and 2. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God, out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. So if God is going to create a new Jerusalem, why are people still paying attention to the Jerusalem that the Roman Empire created? They created a false Israel in Jerusalem so the masses won't know the truth, so they'll be scattered in deception. And let's not forget, they don't want you to know where the origin of God's prophecy came from.
It's a fact that Ethiopia was Jewish. It's a fact that North Africa was Jewish. It's a fact that went on. And then Kyrie Irving puts out a video explaining that a bunch of North African blacks are intermarried and part Jewish, and Israel lets a bunch of blacks in because they can prove that their lineage, their names are Jewish names. So how is it anti-Semitic? And how does the ADL say it's anti-Semitic for black people who are related directly to King Solomon and King David, the line of Judah, which Haile Selassie was the leader of Ethiopia? That's where this whole movement comes from. To act like they don't know this, I'm not blaming Jews for this, I'm blaming the leftist ADL. To deny black Jews their heritage is a historic fraud. It's a damn historic fact. It's on Wikipedia. It's not even debated.
Do y'all understand why?
See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? So, the U.S. government, through the third country technique, and I'm gonna read about that. It's a section in here, the third country technique. We're gonna talk about that in a minute. Through the third country technique has been an important contributor to these programs. Even though these figures in the U.S. contribution are hidden, the Lawful report does mention some aid support from Israel's youth programs in the Central African Republic of Dahomey. It also mentions that France has assisted youth projects. Why they always in other people's business? These same folks. I know that nations have to work together, but this isn't working together. And this is why this is why I'm saying it like that, because we all understand that nations work together. But this is not working together, y'all. This is them putting their hands in other countries' business in an effort to control, disguised as help. All help ain't good help. All help ain't good help. Elsewhere in Africa. I don't know, I just got a call of it. Western aid to Israeli no doubt makes it possible for her to maintain an active program of penetration in Africa. Let me read that again. Western aid to Israeli no doubt makes it possible for her being Israel, to maintain an active program of penetration in Africa. That means it's still going on. Israel still earns more revenue from monies contributed from abroad than on monies obtained from exports. Without international credits and contributions solicited abroad with the cooperation of complicity of Western powers, Israel could not survive economically. So, the giant is still the giant, y'all. It's just they telling you the giant is somebody else. The giant is still the giant. Still the same giant. David is fighting the same giant. Just look like somebody else. Where was that at? Its balance of payments problems have always posed real difficulties for the economy. Thus, without finance from non-Israeli sources, Israel, Africa programs would be inconceivable. So if, like in the video that we just played, I want to play this video too. Let me see something. What is this? In the video that we just played, if the U.S. was not involved, Israel could not be involved in African affairs. To make it plain and simple. If they didn't create it, they would have to create it. Yeah, how do I go back to the videos? I got about another hour. I think I'm gonna read some more of this and then I'm gonna let some people up. Is it on the shorts? This one right here. This is why East Africa is the biblical Israel. I'm gonna play this because this will help y'all understand or bring some understanding to why we talk about these things, why we reveal these documents. Why are they even doing this? This will help you understand.
Yahoo spoke regarding African migrants and Ethiopian Jews, defending strict measures against illegal immigration. Listen to his wordplay.
You asked what did we do about it? The first thing I did was put up a barrier, a fence between Africa and Israel.
First, he said that they put a barrier, a fence between Africa and Israel. Israel is a biblical prophecy that comes from Africa, East Africa. These Jewish stole the identity to separate Israel from Africa. The Ethiopian Falashas were called Beta Israel before Israel was created in 1948. And Beta Israel, which simply means House of Israel.
We let in, mind you, immigrants from Africa, Ethiopian Jews who come into this country. I think it's the first time that we have actually transported black Africans from Africa.
He said that they transported Africans which were Ethiopian Jews, to Israel. But how were they transported? It was a secret operation from the CIA because they could not deny that Ethiopian Jews were part of Israel.
Not to enslave them, but in fact to liberate them.
When did they ever liberate Africans or Ethiopian Jews?
Never since.
Before the operations even came about, like Operation Moses, they didn't even want Ethiopians into their country. And how can Ethiopian Jews be called immigrants if they are Jews?
So that's not a question. It's not a racial question. It's a question of illegal immigration that will flood our countries and basically...
Who's really illegal here? Because it damn sure ain't us. We can't even get on here and talk about our story without getting blocked, pages getting taken down. When I'm
with people who don't share our values, don't share our commitment to democracy, might include radical Islamists, might include terrorists.
So if you don't share their core values like democracy that comes from the Romans, that means that you're against Israel. Israel is not a democracy, it's a monarchy. That's why Israel has a king of kings, which is Christ. They have colonized God's nation to become a democracy. So in other words, he doesn't want Africans in his countries or to identify as Israel. Recently, Benjamin Netanyahu spoke regarding African migrants in Ethiopia.
They want control over everything that don't belong to them. That's what it looked like. Names, land masses, people, minds of people. We gotta stop acting like this is normal. When are we gonna stand up and unite? One band, one sound, one God. They created this whole thing about many gods to confuse y'all. That was on purpose. That was on purpose. All right, let's see. Lawfer acknowledges Israelis' achievement in having more than half its effort financed from non-Israeli sources is probably unique in the tangled history of post-war technical assistance operations. This shows how a small country, short of capital, but with the will and objective capacity, can generate a sizable technical assistance program with little capital investment and... Okay, I don't know what that says. Negligible effect, I think that's the word. It's a lot of letters. Let me see. Negligible effect on its balance of payment petition. I think that's what it says. Okay. Not all the revenue for those programs coming directly through the U.S. or other imperialist powers. Some of the expenses are met by recipient African nations. However, these nations are often themselves dependent on Western aid. So it's a circle of them dependent on Western aid. So it's saying not all of the revenue for these programs comes directly through the U.S. I can't, you know what? This is funny. Not all of the revenue comes through the U.S. or other imperialist powers. Some of the expenses are met by recipients of African nations. But, there's a but. Those nations, they're often dependent on U.S. aid. So it's still the U.S. If y'all just coming in, this is a CIA document approved for release in 2024 titled David and Goliath Collaborate in Africa. So, however, okay, I already read that. And some other ally funding in African states enables it to afford the expenses of an Israeli assistance program, which itself is receiving Western support through other channels. So in all, it's just Western support disguised as aid for control purposes. The Israeli experience has served as a model for similar ventures by U.S. client states and may be a harboring of new perspectives which are coming to inform more sophisticated models of imperialist intervention in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. For example, in order to counter the influence of China in Africa, the U.S. uses her the U.S. uses her client state in an operation model on the Israeli example. The U.S. third country aid and training allows Taiwan to maintain an assistance program in Africa, which has already spent about $50 million since 1961. The Nationalist Chinese Regiment is recognized by 21 African states and has sponsored agricultural aid programs in 19 of them. Well, that's damn near all of them. That's damn near all of them, y'all. So, 19 out of 21. In contrast, mainland China is recognized by only 14 African countries and expand aid to 10 of them. The nationalist program has measurable political impact. In 1969, only 15 African countries voted for China's admission to the UN, while 20 voted against. Okay. Yeah, it definitely is. The true nature of Israel's role and objective, however, is slowly being unmasked. Mask off. Snatch it off. We snatching the mask off, y'all. Okay, so it's being unmasked in part because of her being Israel. Why do they refer to Israel as her? I guess because of her own expansionist behavior in the Middle East, but also in large measure because of the increasingly direct partition role which Israel has played in serving imperialism and neo-colonialism reaction in such African states as Congo and Ethiopia. Like their North American behavior. Why does it say that? Like their North American behavior, the Israelis have been forced into open counter-revolutionary warfare at home and abroad. Hopefully, the lessons of the fact will not be long in coming home to the African people. Y'all, we gotta wake up. Did I miss a page? Okay. Now, this third country technique. At about the same time that Israel initiated her penetration in Africa, America's growing cadre of Africa strategies decided on Israeli presence there could be useful. The late Arnold Ravakin and economics, who headed the African Research Project at Massachusetts Institute of Technology's CIA-organized Center for International Studies, and who later went on to a key role at the World Bank, was one of the first Americans to state publicly the assumptions which underline the U.S. decision to take advantage of the convenience of interest between the U.S. and Israel in the African front. In a 1959 article in Foreign Affairs, Ravokin wrote that Israel's moderate form of socialist development could serve as an important example to developing nations in revolt against the West. Yeah. The Israeli model, he declared, may well prove to be a sort of economic third force, an alternative differing from the Western pattern, but certainly far more capable with free world interests than any communist model. Smoke and mirrors. Later in Africa and the West, he outlined the way in which the U.S. could support Israeli penetration. Israel's role as a third force might also be reinforced by imaginative use of the third country technique. A free world state wishing to enlarge its assistance flow to Africa might channel some part of it through Israel because of Israel's special qualifications and demonstrated acceptability to many African nations. So, play nice, gain their trust. That's the game. Just like on one of the articles, well, I think it was a news article about Tedros, where he stated they send aid first. And he was like, no, don't send the aid first. Send the military first. Just send what you really want to send. So they send aid first. They send missionaries first to disguise their true nature, like what they're really trying to do. So Ravokin's proposal made sense within State Department and CIA policy planning councils. U.S. policymakers have for years been covertly channeling money to third force agents as part of their global crusade against communists and revolution. In Europe, as has since been revealed, millions of CIA dollars propped up and energized social democratic labor, student, professionals, and political groups, which were moderately socialist but militantly anti-communist. With regard to the third world, only the right-wing hardliners grouped around John Foster in the State Department thought that such a technique jeopardized U.S. interests. So don't jeopardize U.S. interests. More sophisticated strategies recognize that dependency on Western control could be achieved within the framework of programs fitted to form a neutralism and non-alignment. The CIA, the British, France, U.S., y'all, this is like, it's really sad. It's really sad. I don't know how many times we got to reveal these things to y'all for y'all to understand how important this movement is and how important it is for us to put down our religious points of views. We arguing about the Bible and they ain't fighting over no Bible. They playing chess. In real life, they playing chess. Strategically planting world powers. What they say? Strategically planting world powers. What they say? What did they? The potatoes. Because the bottom of the pan is all. Use another one. It's the pan. You didn't mess up. It's that pan. Between 1951 and 1952, Israel received $15 billion in aid and assistance from the United States from 1950 to 1964. The UN and its specialized agencies themselves, often shaped and controlled by the US, spent over $5 million on experts and fellowships for Israel. These aid programs built a network through which US expertise was imported to Israel, only to be exported by Israeli nations somewhat later. Of course, Israel did not adapt American technique wholesale, but instead they modified them with a distinctive twist based on Israel's experience. Nonetheless, the U.S. was pleased with the now, of course, they were pleased with the manner in which this aid implemented the U.S. I don't know if that says the U.S. conceived third country technique. So, Henry Chalfant, former U.S. mission director in Israel, testified to U.S. intentions when he wrote, Israel selected for training abroad were carefully chosen with a view to returning to Israel as demonstrators of skill and knowledge to others. This multiplier effect is an essential element of any program of technical assistance. The high quality of the trained Israeli is further attested by the fact that Israel is now and has been in recent years transferring these acquired skills and knowledge to less fortunate people through a technical assistance program of her own. Israel's assistance program in Africa assumes several basic forms. 1. Highly trained Israeli experts are placed at the disposal of African states, often in strategically important positions. Of course, the more important the position, the more say-so you have on what goes on. Of course. 2. Various categories of African personnel, including students, civil servants, labor leaders, and military career, are given specialized training in Israel itself. And 3, Israeli businessmen and their government have set up joint economic enterprises with African states and private corporations. In the first category, most of the important specialized assistance is military and paramilitary nature. Non-military assistance programs utilize the parallel training approach. That is, while Israeli experts serve abroad. Africans are given specialized training in Israel. This assistance, they given specialized training in Israel. Why? Why they need to go to Israel to train for anything? Why is there universities in Europe, Ethiopian universities in Europe? Why is there training facilities in Israel for Ethiopians? Why? What they training them on? What they training them that they can't do in their own country? I lost my place. Okay. This assistance has been highly diversified, embracing everything from poultry training to Guyana to setting up national lotteries, from youth movement organizing to periodics in the upper Volta, whatever that means. Israelis' agricultural programs are organized along military lines and carried out either directly by the military or by agencies linked to it. If the military is involved, I'm trying to figure out how is it aid. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. Before he became defense minister, General Moshe Dayan took an active interest in shaping Israel's agricultural programs in Africa. This reflects the militarized, that's what it says, militarization of agriculture in Israel itself. Since the kibbutz system, most Israeli collective forms are closely tied into the national defense effort. The agriculture program has been organized along paramilitary lines. It is this highly political model of organization which Israel exports to Africa. I'm kind of just reading bits and pieces of this this document. Oh, let me change it back. Well, no, I'm gonna leave that. But here's a little section under counterinsurgency. It says that in 1968, the Department of Defense financed close to $2 million worth of scientific research through 32 contracts at Israeli universities and research centers. Israeli military and paramilitary assistance programs to sub-Saharan Africa have taken several different forms. One of the most common area of involvement has been Israeli assistance in setting up national service youth corps, some of them paramilitary in various African countries. Thus, for example, Israeli advisors have assisted in creating Youth Pioneer Youth Movement, a national service corps in the Israeli model of Tanzania, and an agricultural youth corps in Togo. In the area of military training, the Israeli have assisted in establishing an army school for civic action in the Ivory Coast and military academy in Syria. In Ghana, they helped to organize the Air Force and Flying School. They have provided training for military personnel for numerous African countries, including the training of nearly 500. Why did it say crack? It said nearly 500 crack Congo paratroopers in Israel. I don't know. Maybe crack means something else. Maybe crack means something else over there, but that don't sound right over here. There is also evidence, some of it not yet verifiable, that the Israelis have played a direct role in intelligence and counterinsurgency activity in several African nations. In Ethiopia, Israel has worked closely with the U.S. in developing counter-guerrilla and federal Emperor Haile Selassie maintain his shaky throne, and in return, Selassie allows the U.S. to operate large military and intelligence bases on Ethiopian territory. Oh, wow. Okay, let me read that again. What?
Do you want quesadillas or toast again?
Toast. I want toast. You can have quesadilla. Not quesadilla. Why do you say quesadilla? It's tortillas.
I was gonna make quesadillas.
But the tortillas is what you use to make quesadilla. A quesadilla is a quesadilla.
That's what okay.
Y'all, my daughter cooking us some food. She cooking us some food. She only 12. Okay.
And half.
12 and a half. Why do children say that? Okay, so there is also evidence. I'm going to read that again. There's also, no, not that part. In Ethiopia, Israel has worked closely with the U.S. in developing I'm finna look this up. What does that mean? Counter guerrilla. Counter-guerrilla refers to military, paramilitary, or police actions taken by a government or occupying power to suppress, combat, and eliminate guerrilla forces using specialized tactics. It involves a mix of conventional military force intelligence-driven operations and political, economic, and social measures to win hearts and minds. I really don't be shocked when I read the definition of these words. I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. So, in Ethiopia, Israel has worked closely with the U.S. in developing counter-guerrilla and intelligence programs. Now, it's funny how they working with the U.S. to develop counter-guerrilla and intelligence programs when they the ones that's doing all this. They the ones that's that's crazy. That's crazy. A government or occupying power to suppress, combat, and eliminate. They the problem. U.S. assistance helps Fidel Emperor Haile Selassie maintain his shaky throne, and in return, Haile Selassie allows the U.S. to operate large military and intelligence bases in Ethiopian territory. However, with the failure of an abortive coup d'etat led by U.S. trained Ethiopian military officers, American Special Forces adversaries were withdrawn from Ethiopia and replaced by Israeli personnel. So, y'all, this is insane. So the U.S. was withdrawn, and then all they did was just place their, what it said, their third country technique inside. So they took their military out and they placed Israel military in, which is, they still running the show. If you haven't went to the website, if you haven't signed the petition, do that. Go yajujudah.com and then follow the steps. Sign the petition. Read the website. See what this is about. This movement is not. This is not a religious movement, y'all. None of this is about religion. Clearly, this is not about religion. The document. Let me get it back up there. Let me get it back up here. How do I do it? I think I go here. The first page. Let me get the. This document is titled "David and Goliath Collaborate in Africa." Have I read anything from this document that sound like religion? No. This has absolutely nothing to do with religion. Where did I stop it? Okay, since then, the Israeli have been directing counter-insurgency activities against the Ethiopian Liberation Front. So y'all got a problem? All right, then. We're gonna make y'all. We're gonna punish y'all for having a problem with us being over here. That's what it sounds like. In other instances, reports of Israeli activity are harder to substantiate. And it talks about a magazine. So it's not really. All right, y'all. I got about 30 minutes. So if y'all want to come up, y'all more than welcome to request up. I haven't been paying attention to the, what they say? Auto accept requests. Okay. Y'all more than welcome to come up. I'm gonna be on for about 30 more minutes, y'all. Exactly. Religion and their dogma is not of God, but man's information to divide the people to keep from uniting. Yes. Yes. Religion brings division. Hell, the church, the Christian church can't even unite. If you got a town of 5,000 people or less, why you got 50 churches in that town? That's not unity. If it's one sound, one band, one God, why y'all can't all be part of the same church? Why everybody can't be a part of the same church? Why you got 50 churches in one community? That is division. And everybody's talking about my pastor the best, my pastor the best. You got to that church. I used to work with this lady, and she would say if you didn't go to her church, you wasn't learning right. That's division, y'all. That's not God's way. That's not. Y'all have made your pastor your God. Y'all praising the pastor in the name of Jesus. In every name, nobody considering God anymore. Because if y'all was considering God, y'all wouldn't even be reading the Bible. To be honest, if everybody was considering God and the will of God, what God wanted, we would not be reading the Bible and trying to teach each other what we think the Bible means. And that's because I know people like what they say, book, chapter, verse. Book, chapter, verse. So let's do it. Book, chapter, verse. Oh, matter of fact, just for fun, let's see. Well, not just for fun, because we used to do the conversation with AI. Instead of looking up that, we're going to do a conversation with AI. Let's see. Let's go back to the conversations with AI that we used to do on the Texas Rise and Shine live streams. Hold on, let me copy this and put it on here. Give me 1 second. So, here, I don't know, do I want to read the question that I'm going to ask? No, I'm going to read it to y'all. Hold on. Y'all already know what I'm asking because I just said it. So, I stated, if people really considered God, they wouldn't be teaching the Bible. They would be actually waiting on the Lord. And it says, that's a really thoughtful, contemplative take, and honestly, it feels more spiritual than argumentative. It sounds like you're pointing at the difference between talking about God and actually being with God. Like, they're teaching, explaining, and preaching, all very human activity, and then there's waiting, listening, and surrendering, which feels quieter and more relation. Y'all want a relation? Y'all want a relation with God, right? So this is what it's talking about. So almost like teaching represents, let me tell you what I know. Waiting is, God, what do you want me to say? And if you waited on the Lord, you would be saying the same thing that the Lord is saying. But nobody's saying that. Y'all saying what y'all want to say. Y'all saying what y'all think it say, what you think it mean. The difference in posture, a lot of people get busy doing for God, but few people slow down enough to be with God. And if you read scripture closely, so many moments of real encounter happen in stillness, not sermons. Wilderness, mountains, desert, silence. In your stories, the examples that you read in the Bible, they wait for instructions. They don't read instructions. There's something really deep about the idea that faith isn't just information transfer, it's attentiveness. Not explaining God to other people, but waiting on God yourself. Ain't nobody waiting. It reminds me of the line, be still and know. Like knowing comes from stillness, not activity. You gotta hear. And when you hear, you gotta be still so that you can know that your decision, the decision that you're gonna make about what you heard, that's the test in the spirit. You can't test the spirit if all you hearing is the noise in your head about what you already think you know. So, in the book of Isaiah, chapter 40, verse 31, but they that wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. So waiting equals strength and renewal. Not activity first, waiting first. Don't shoot the messenger. This is Conversations with AI. I'm just reading. The book of Psalms, chapter 27, verse 14. Wait on the Lord. Be of good courage, and he shall strengthen thine heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. Notice how it repeats it twice for the people in the back. Almost like God really wants us to slow down and wait. I'm just a messenger. Remember, this is Conversations with AI. I'm just reading. Psalms 62 verse 1. Truly my soul waiteth upon God. From him cometh my salvation. Not my soul teaches, not my soul explains, my soul waits. And I'm just reading. Psalms 46 verse 10. Be still and know that I am God. Knowing God is tied to stillness. Not how loud you speak, not how good you teach, not your interpretation on the Bible and what you think it means. I'm just saying. Stillness requires quietness. In the book of Lamentations, chapter 3, verse 25 through 26, the Lord is good unto them that wait for him, to the soul that seeketh him. It is good that a man should both hope and quietly wait for the salvation of the Lord. Quietly. That word hits different. And I'm still reading, y'all. In the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 5, verse 2. Be not rash with thy mouth. Let thy words be few. And it says, God literally tells us, slow down your talking. Let your words be few. Okay, I'm going to let you up. Let your words be few. In the book of James, chapter 1, verse 19, let every man be swift to hear and slow to speak. So the hearing comes first. Why everybody talking? Why is everybody preaching?
You cooking.
I'm like, why is everybody preaching everywhere in these church buildings and on these corners and telling everybody what they think the Bible means and what their interpretation of the Bible? Why is everybody talking when we supposed to be waiting and listening for understanding, not listening to debate and judge and listening for understanding?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Okay.
I feel you.
What's up?
No, man, I'm chilling, man. I just chilling. I'm just trying to see what the hell going. You know what I mean? What is going on?
You just came on the live?
I've been live for like an hour and a half. I'll probably go in it soon.
Huh?
I said I've been live for like an hour and a half.
Okay, so were you able to listen to the information I gave about this document?
I just sent you an invite. I was in my own live and then your name just popped up.
Oh, you sent me an invite. Oh, okay, yeah. Cool.
Yeah,
I didn't know you sent me an invite. I would have came on your live.
Yeah, it just be popping up. You was just one of the people who popped up. Ain't nobody, you the first one to join.
I'm on your live right now?
I think we on each other live.
Oh, I didn't know that. I don't know.
I actually I think I gotta go pick up my brother. He calling me.
Okay. But yeah, I'm not gonna be on here long either. I'm gonna follow you. We can go live another day.
All right.
How do I follow
you? With the little follow. Yeah. All right, chat.
All right.
I'm gonna catch y'all. All right.
Okay. So it says, even Jesus modeled this. Before teaching crowds, Gospel of Luke, chapter 5, verse 16 says, and he withdrew himself into the wilderness and prayed. He stepped away to be alone with the Father, waiting and then ministering. So y'all think y'all better than Jesus? Oh my. Y'all too good to wait. You read in the stories. And he withdrew himself into the wilderness. A quiet place. I'm just saying. So the pattern that we're talking about here, which scripture keeps showing up, is wait, listen, receive, and then speak. That's the order of it. Wait, listen, receive, speak. Not teach, talk, explain, and stay busy. Explaining and teaching, and that's not the order. That's not what the examples in the book say. So I'm just saying, this is not random. It's very biblical. It's very biblical when we tell you to wait on the Lord. We mean really wait. You were supposed to really be waiting, not picking up the Bible and teaching in your own words. And a lot of people say, well, you teaching your own words. No, I waited. And the time is now. The time is at hand for me to speak. I'm in order. Honestly, it sounds like a, what does it say? Mary at his feet kind of faith. Luke chapter 10, verse 39 through 42 vibes, rather than a Martha. Oh my goodness, this chat thing is funny sometimes. So it sounds like it's saying that y'all sound like a Mary at his feet kind of faith instead of Martha being busy one or something like that. I don't know. Let's see what it says about. I'm one more for the road. The book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 20. But the Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. Not preach, not debate. Keep silence. Hold thy peace at the presence of the Lord God. Zephaniah chapter 1, verse 7. Literally, be quiet in his presence. Book of Lamentations, chapter 3, verse 28. He sitteth alone and keepeth silence, because he hath borne it upon him. Sitting alone, silence equals spiritual posture. Listening and hearing. The book of Samuel, chapter 3, verse 10. Speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. Not your servant is speaking. The servant is hearing. Not your own thoughts. Because you know what? What does it say about the mouth of God shall speak? So the mouth, you're going to be hearing something. The book of John, chapter 10, 27. Chapter 10, verse 27. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. Hearing. Psalms 37, verse 7. Rest in the Lord and wait patiently for him. I think I made my point, but I don't know. I don't know. What time is it? Okay, I got a few more minutes. But if y'all haven't had a chance to go to the website, let's just put the website in right there. I'm going to pin it. If you haven't had a chance to go to that website, go to that website. Like I said, we are revealing a lot of information that has not been revealed to the public. The CIA is releasing a lot of documents that reveal more than just a month worth of Black history about people that were slaves, that built things, invented things. Why when they talk about Black History Month, we when one month and all we talk about every day is what Black people created after they were slaves. We didn't fall out the sky as slaves, y'all. I know they want y'all to think somebody's coming from the sky and we just fell here as slaves and that's all we were. Our story began as slaves. That is a lie from the pit of hell. That is a lie. That is deception. And none of these CIA documents, the Operation Moses, Operation Joshua, David and Goliath, none of these CIA documents with biblical names or names from biblical stories have anything to do with religion. So go to the website, check out the website, sign the petition, join the movement that is this is probably the most important movement of your life. The most important movement of your life. Here I come.
You want me to fix your plate?
We can. Thank you. So since I don't have any guests, I'm gonna end it on that note. What? Y'all come back tomorrow, because tomorrow we got some more Black history. That's the untold Black history. You know? Let me see what the hold on one second. Tomorrow, I think I'm gonna do the it's another CIA document revealing the truth about Africa's revolution. It's Black History Month, so hey, let's talk about some real Black history. Some untold truth, some Black history that really matters, not just who built the washing machine. Where that nigga come from? Because he didn't start off as a slave. All right, y'all. Peace, peace.